black lawyer mistaken for criminal in courtroom, then delivers a shocking defense. Welcome to my channel. No Justice Nation for such real and true stories. Let's dive right in. They say justice is blind, but what happens when the people meant to uphold it refuse to see? It was a regular Monday morning in a busy downtown courthouse. Lawyers filed in with their briefcases, judges readied their robes, and families huddled together in nervous anticipation of verdicts that would change their lives forever. But that day, one man stood out, not because of what he had done, not because he was guilty of any crime, but because of the color of his skin, and a devastating assumption that nearly derailed justice itself. This is the story of Marcus Thompson, a brilliant black defense attorney who walked into a courtroom to defend his client, but instead found himself mistaken for the accused. What happened next would leave everyone in that room speechless and send shockwaves through the entire legal system. This is no Justice Nation. Marcus Thompson was no stranger to courtrooms. At 34, he had made a name for himself in the legal community as a rising star, sharp, relentless, and passionate about justice. Graduating at the top of his class from Howard University School of Law, he had defended dozens of clients, some wrongly accused, some forgotten by the system, many too poor to afford representation. He believed in fighting for the voiceless. He had grown up in South Central Los Angeles, raised by a single mother who worked 2 jobs to keep the lights on. He'd seen the inside of the system as a child, watched neighbors carted off in handcuffs. Teachers treat him like he'd never make it. Police stop him for no reason other than walking home with a hoodie on. He knew what prejudice looked like. He just never thought he'd see it play out in the one place designed to stop it, the courtroom. On the morning of the trial, Marcus wore his best navy blue suit, crisp white shirt, silver tie, shined shoes. He carried his leather briefcase, his notes neatly organized, his opening statement memorized. He was ready. His client, a young man named Jamal Wesson, was facing serious charges: armed robbery, possession of a weapon, assault. But Marcus believed in his innocence. The case was full of holes. No physical evidence, an unreliable witness, and a forced confession that reeked of coercion. It should have been open and shut. But nothing prepared Marcus for what would happen before the trial even began. Sound effect: courtroom doors creaking open. As he entered the courtroom, heads turned, not in admiration, not in respect, but in suspicion. 2 bailiffs, a white man and a Latino woman, immediately stepped forward, blocking his path. Bailiff 1 gruffly, "Excuse me, sir. You can't be in here yet. Defendants wait outside until called." Marcus blinked, confused. "Marcus, I'm not the defendant. I'm the attorney representing Mr. Weston." Bailiff 2, "Uh-huh. Can I see some ID?" Marcus, "Sure." He reached into his pocket and handed over his state bar card and ID. The bailiff examined it for a moment, then narrowed his eyes. Bailiff 1, "You got this from your lawyer?" Marcus, "No, I am the lawyer." A few chuckles echoed from the courtroom benches. One of the assistant prosecutors leaned over to whisper something to his colleague. They smirked. Marcus stood tall. He had experienced racial profiling before, but this was different. This was humiliation in front of a courtroom full of people. And he hadn't even said a word yet. Despite presenting valid ID, Marcus was still questioned for several more minutes. One of the court officers radioed in to confirm his credentials. The judge had not yet entered the courtroom, and the room buzzed with murmurs. Eventually, the bailiffs allowed him to pass, but the damage had been done. Whispers followed him as he walked to the defense table. His client, Jamal, looked confused. "Jamal, they thought you was me?" Marcus gave him a small nod, tried to smile, but inside he was boiling. He wasn't just mistaken for a defendant. He was assumed guilty because of the color of his skin. He had done everything right. Graduated top of his class, built a reputable career, played by every rule in the book. And still, he was seen as a criminal. Not even the robe of professionalism could protect him. Flashback sound, soft whoosh. It wasn't the first time it had happened. Years ago, when he was still in law school, a professor mistook him for a janitor. Another time, he was told to wait outside the courtroom, by a clerk who thought he was a delivery driver. Each time he swallowed the insult, brushed it off, told himself to focus on the mission. But this time would be different, because this time he was about to take that same courtroom and turn it upside down. The judge finally entered the courtroom, an older white man named Judge Franklin, known for his strict demeanor and no-nonsense approach. He banged his gavel to call the court to order. Judge Franklin, let's begin the case of the state versus Jamal Weston. Marcus stood to introduce himself. Marcus, Your Honor, Marcus Thompson for the defense. The judge looked up, paused. Judge Franklin, you're the counsel? Marcus, yes, Your Honor. Judge Franklin's eyes flicked down to the paperwork. He said nothing, just gave a slight nod. But that pause, it was long enough for everyone to feel. The prosecutor, a white woman named Karen Madsen, rose next. Karen Madsen for state, polished, confident, and cold. From the very beginning, she walked with the ease of someone who had never been questioned for belonging, never been stopped at the door, never needed to prove she was more than what they assumed. Marcus shook off the sting and focused. The trial was set to run for 5 days. The prosecution's entire case hinged on a shaky eyewitness and a confession obtained under questionable circumstances. Marcus had done his homework, but as he spoke, he couldn't help but notice a jury. 12 faces, 10 of them white, 1 black man, 1 Latina woman, all staring, not just at his words, but at him. And Marcus knew he wasn't just defending Jamal Weston. He was fighting for both of their reputations. The prosecution called their star witness, a middle-aged gas station clerk named Brad Yancey. Brad claimed to have seen Jamal at the scene of the robbery, claimed he recognized him from his gait and energy, whatever that meant. Marcus stepped up for the cross-examination. Marcus, Mr. Yancey, you said the person you saw had a mask on? Brad, yes. Marcus, and yet you're sure it was Mr. Weston? Brad, I know what I saw. Marcus, what time was this? Brad, around 9:30. Marcus, and what was the lighting like? Brad, dim, just the street lights. Marcus, so you saw a masked individual in dim light from across a parking lot for how long? Brad hesitated. Brad, maybe a few seconds. Marcus, and from that, you identified my client? A young black man, when all you saw was a masked face in the dark. Brad squirmed. Marcus pressed on. Marcus, you didn't see his face. You couldn't hear his voice. And yet you're sure. Brad, I felt it. Marcus paused. Looked directly at the jury. Marcus, ladies and gentlemen, the only thing Mr. Yancey felt was a gut feeling. And we all know how often gut feelings mistake young black men for criminals. The courtroom went silent. The judge didn't say a word. The jury leaned forward. For the first time, Marcus felt the tide shift. Then came the turning point. On the second day, Marcus presented evidence the prosecution had ignored. Surveillance footage. Grainy, but powerful. From a liquor store 2 blocks from the crime scene, showing Jamal Weston at the time of the robbery, buying a soda, laughing with the cashier, wearing a different outfit. Marcus paused the footage. Marcus, that's 9:28 p.m. The robbery was at 9:30, 4 blocks away. He turned to the judge. Marcus, Your Honor, unless Mr. Weston can teleport, he couldn't have been in 2 places at once. The prosecutor objected. Judge Franklin overruled. And the jury, they were watching. Really watching. Not just a video. But Marcus, the prosecution's final blow was a confession, signed, on paper, with Jamal's name. But Marcus knew something was wrong. So he called a surprise witness, Officer Jackson, the one who had interviewed Jamal. Marcus, Officer Jackson, how long did the interview last? Jackson, about an hour. Marcus, was Jamal given food? Water? Jackson, not during the interview. Marcus, was he read his Miranda rights? Jackson, pause. Yes. Marcus, was there legal counsel present? Jackson, he waved it. Marcus, Do you have audio or video of this waiver? Jackson, no, sir. Marcus nodded. Then he played the transcript. Jamal had repeatedly asked, do I need a lawyer? Can I call someone? Each time, the officers deflected. Marcus looked to the judge. Marcus, Your Honor, this was not a confession. This was coercion. This young man was isolated, intimidated, and manipulated. Judge Franklin rubbed his chin. Madsen looked rattled. Then came the moment everyone would remember. Closing arguments. Marcus stood, calm but burning with fire beneath the surface. Marcus, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, he looked them in the eye. Marcus, you saw what happened in this courtroom. You saw how easily a young black man could be painted as guilty with no real evidence. Just a hunch, just a profile, just a gut feeling. He paused. Marcus, and I know something about being mistaken. He let the words hang. Marcus, when I walked into this courtroom, I was mistaken for a criminal, despite my suit, my credentials, my years of education. Because to some people, a black man walking in here must be the defendant. But I am the attorney. I am the one sworn to uphold the law. And I'm asking you to look past bias, to look at facts, to look at truth. He pointed at Jamal. Marcus, this young man is not a criminal. He's a victim of a system too quick to judge. The room was frozen. Even the judge looked shaken. It took the jury just 2 hours. Not guilty. All counts. Jamal wept. His mother sobbed in the gallery. Marcus stood tall. But before the court was adjourned, something unexpected happened. Judge Franklin cleared his throat. Judge Franklin, Mr. Thompson, I owe you an apology. The room shifted. Judge Franklin, this court owes you an apology. For a moment, even Marcus couldn't speak. The gavel fell. The story didn't end in that courtroom. Word spread. The footage of Marcus's closing argument went viral. News outlets picked up the story. Black lawyer mistaken for criminal delivers stunning defense. Justice served. Marcus was invited to speak at law schools, bar associations, even national conferences. But he didn't let the attention change him. He returned to his clients, to the work, to the fight. Because for every courtroom where justice is blind, there are 100 more where it's still color-coded. And Marcus Thompson vowed to never stop showing up in a suit with truth in his hands and fire in his voice. This is America, where the fight for justice doesn't end with a verdict. It begins the moment you walk through a door and they assume you don't belong. But people like Marcus Thompson, they remind us of what true justice looks like. Strong, unshaken, unapologetically black. This is No Justice Nation. Like my video and subscribe my channel for more daily videos.